And once again, another liar from the NFL gets caught as he tried to spark more protests and fake race bias by the police. On Friday, Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo announced that 3 officers from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department acted correctly in detaining Seattle Seahawks defensive end, Michael Bennett. Bennett was detained shortly after attending the Saturday, August 26 fight between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor at the T-Mobile Arena. Lombardo confirmed that Bennett was indeed detained for approximately 10 minutes while officers searched for an active shooter in the area. He was handcuffed and placed into the back of a police car, but after officers realized that Bennett had nothing to do with the shooting, he was released. At no point during the investigation was Bennett arrested. But here is where things get interesting. On September 8, Bennett tweeted a statement titled "Equality." Bennett accused the officers of pointing guns at him for nothing more than simply being a black man in the wrong place at the wrong time. He also described the officers as engaging in excessive force. Bennett went on to highlight that one of the officers forcefully jammed his knee into Bennett's back, causing Bennett to experience a breathing impediment. Does the above video confirm any of this player's fabricated scenario? Las Vegas Review-Journal reports. Sheriff, Las Vegas police had reasonable suspicion to stop Michael Bennett. Metropolitan Police Department Sheriff Joe Lombardo said Friday that officers had reasonable suspicion to stop NFL player Michael Bennett in August after a shooting was reported on the Strip. They did what they were trained to do, Lombardo said during an afternoon news conference. The sheriff emphasized that Bennett did nothing wrong when Metro officers detained him outside the Cromwell, 3503 Las Vegas Boulevard South, the morning of August 27. Lombardo said Bennett was detained for 10 minutes because he ran from a reported shooting inside the hotel while police commanded people to stay down. Bennett, a Seattle Seahawks defensive lineman, attracted national attention after he accused Las Vegas police of using excessive force and of targeting him because he's black. At Friday's news conference, Lombardo said he understands being detained and suspected of a felony can be alarming, and he insisted he wasn't trying to disparage Bennett. He then praised the officers involved in the incident for their bravery in responding to a reported shooting. "I believe they acted appropriately and professionally," he said. Spokesman Jay Rivera previously said the officer who detained Bennett during what turned out to be a falsely reported shooting told his supervisors he forgot to turn on his body camera prior to the stop. Lombardo confirmed that information Friday. Metro again denied race was a factor in detaining Bennett. Lombardo said one of the detaining officers was Latino and many of the other people around Bennett were black and not detained. Bennett's attorney, John Burris, reiterated Bennett's position that he was racially profiled, adding he is a socially conscious person who is aware of implicit bias. "That's what Michael believes," Burris said. Local NAACP chapter member Gary Peck said he didn't know whether race played a role in Bennett's detaining, but the department's response to such a high-profile incident hadn't done enough to quell those concerns. Peck also criticized the department's claim an officer's identity determined whether there was bias. He said people can engage in bias regardless of identity, and Metro's comment shows the department doesn't understand racism as a systemic and cultural issue. "Oh, he's black and it's a Latino officer, so come on, of course race isn't involved," Peck said. "Honestly, the department is better than that." Camera footage. The sheriff said the department reviewed 861 videos, including security footage and body camera footage from other officers, and determined that 193 videos were relevant to the investigation. Lombardo played Cromwell security footage of people dug into the ground after confusing the sound of stanchions hitting the floor with gunshots. Other footage showed Bennett and others running out of the hotel, with Bennett keeping his head down. Body camera footage showed police placing a visibly distressed Bennett into the back of a patrol car outside the hotel. The footage shows him pleading with officers to explain why he was being detained and telling police an officer held a gun to his head and threatened to shoot him. "I almost lost my life, man, for no reason," Bennett told officers in the video. Lombardo said police had found no evidence officers told Bennett they would shoot him or a gun was pointed at his head. adding an officer did have his gun out while trying to detain Bennett. Bennett is seen telling police an officer asked why he ran and jumped over a wall. "Somebody's shooting, man," Bennett said. "I got 3 daughters. I want to go home and see my kids." As the video was playing, Lombardo stopped the tape to point out officers didn't know who they had detained for most of the incident. After several minutes sitting in the back of the car, police asked for Bennett's name. He gave his name and told officers to look up who he was. One of the officers matched his face to a Google image search, apologized and let him walk free. Police eventually let him go as they realized the call of a shooting was unfounded, Lombardo said. Burris said he wasn't surprised Metro justified the stop, adding police didn't meet the standard of reasonable suspicion to detain Bennett. He said the footage shown supported Bennett's accusations, and he questioned why Bennett was stopped for running, while others also ran. Lombardo said a formal complaint was filed within the last 3 days. Shortly after the press conference, Las Vegas Police Protective Association President Steve Grammes said he was hoping the officers involved could put the incident behind them. Grammes, who is representing the officers, called Bennett's accusations outlandish and said they defamed every officer in the department. He said he didn't know why Bennett would consider this a racially biased incident without speaking to him personally. He doubled down on a previous call for Bennett to apologize to Metro and its officers for the accusations. Now more so than ever, Grammes said. Alex Cherub, the group's vice president, said he was still troubled with Bennett's allegations of an officer pointing a gun at his head, regardless of whether Metro had reasonable suspicion to detain him. ACLU of Nevada Director Todd Story said Bennett, as a black man aware of systemic racism, had the right to be afraid for his life. He said the press conference didn't confirm or dispel Bennett's claims of excessive force because the detaining officer didn't activate his body camera in accordance with Metro guidelines. Story said Metro must continue to earn the public's trust through transparency and accountability. Because of a failure to follow policy, we may never get the answer, he said. Contact Mike Shoro at mshoro@reviewjournal.com or 702-387-5290. Follow at Mike_Shoro on Twitter. Body camera policy. The Metropolitan Police Department's body camera policy instructs officers to turn on their body-worn cameras before attempting to stop someone or responding to a call. Jay Rivera, Metro spokesman, said the detaining officer should have turned his on before stopping Bennett. Rivera said the detaining officer is on regular duty. Lombardo said the officer could face discipline for failing to turn on his body camera, but wouldn't elaborate on what form that discipline would take. He said any discipline wouldn't be public information. ACLU of Nevada Director Todd Story called on police to make it public whether the officer would face discipline for failing to turn on his body camera. Metro's Code of Conduct has no policy specifying discipline for body camera violations. Instead, Metro officers work within the existing Code of Conduct, Las Vegas Police Protective Association President Steve Grammes said. The department would not release its Code of Conduct to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, saying it was a personnel document. Sheriff Lombardo did acknowledge that Bennett has a valid point as an innocent person who was detained by the police. Lombardo also stated that he understood why Bennett did not have a positive feeling about the incident. But Lombardo also stressed that he and his staff reviewed all 193 videos of the incident and all these videos confirmed the officer's decision to detain Bennett on suspicion of a felony. Lombardo confirmed that the officer's goal was to keep the peace and that their interactions with Bennett were lawful and courteous, even if Bennett regarded them as degrading and humiliating. These lies Bennett told on social media might very well lead to some kind of legal action of defamation against this ball tosser towards the police for using his many followers on social media to spread an outright lie about LVMPD. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my channel.